So this is my 1989 Volvo 780. It seems to have suffered a turbo failure in the last couple of days, so we're going to take apart the intercooler piping and do an inspection of the turbo and see what actually needs to be fixed. So on the Volvo 780, it's LH 2.2 Bosch ECU fuel injected turbo 8 valve and a bunch of other facts from Wikipedia. But the turbo's kind of tucked way down in there. It's this is the, this runs the intercooler here, and then that goes in intake side and all that. So we need to take off the intake side, intercooler side of the front mount, or on the front side, cold side of the turbo. Hopefully I don't need to remove any of this wastegate shit. But we're just going to get down in there and check for shaft play, and I'm also going to be inspecting all these pipes for holes in the case that there's just some sort of an exhaust or intake leak somewhere. Okay, so let's get to parts removal. Something I like to do is take a couple pictures while it's all still relatively together. There's nothing particularly complicated on this side, but you know, rather be safe than sorry. Good. Broke the flange off. Nice job, Volvo. Sometimes it pays to have a ridiculously long extension. Good. Shall we? Where's this? So now we're able to get down into the turbo, and there's definitely some shaft play. So there is the intake of the turbo, and so what I'm going to do is reach in there, and you see that tiny little nut sticking out on the end? That's the end of the shaft, so the thing that spins inside the turbo. So what I'm going to do is just grab it and wiggle it, and if it wiggles, you know, too much, then we probably have a turbo failure. So I'm going to try and reach down here in a way that the camera can see, but unfortunately I don't think I can do that, so I'm going to take my word for it. Not a lot, but it seems to spin okay. Oh. To spin mostly okay, but it's getting a little sticky, so I'm gonna go with the prognosis that the turbo's bad. If you don't believe me, take a listen to the sound that the car is making when it's running. It is making just terrible noises. So it looks like the turbo is probably bad on the 780. With that amount of shaft play, I wouldn't really trust it, let alone the fact that it actually started to seize up when I spun it by hand. So a new turbo is obviously the way to go. There's a couple challenges on this year Volvo turbo. They use a different manifold. It's an earlier casting, and it looks like this. Now the problem with this casting is that it's a standard T3 bolt flange, but they have this little raised circle right here in the middle, which will kind of cause a couple problems trying to bolt a standard turbo on here. So what we need to do is machine that flat or belt sand it flat or do something to flatten that out so that I can fit an aftermarket turbo, which is, you know, a quarter of the cost of a genuine or even reproduction 13T, 15G, or 19T unit that will bolt onto that. So the next step will be going onto eBay, finding some sort of aftermarket turbo. I will get this machined up, and hopefully later this week, you know, magic of the film and all that, we should be ready to go and have a new bigger turbo, more boost, and more reliability out of that Volvo 780.